Let's keep plowing forth with the videos. I'm gonna do a few more today. I'm in the mood, and I know you're in the mood for this. This is one of the most requested groups I've had on this channel. This is one of those love or hate bands, and I get it. I understand it. I have friends that don't get these guys, and plenty of people just don't like Pop Weed itself. I kind of understand that. They're a very acquired taste. When someone says they don't like these guys, I don't argue with it. I love these guys. I think they're a ton of fun. This is their best album. As always, in my opinion. Welcome for discussion, but this is my favorite Pop Weed Itself album. A lot of this might have to do with when it was released. 1989 is when this year came out. That was the beginning of some intense love affairs I had with styles of music. Music was changing in a huge way. It's hard to understate or overstate or whatever. It's hard to overstate. I'll put it this way. It's hard to overstate the importance of this time period, late 80s, early 90s, right? Those of you who were there, music was changing by the second. You couldn't keep up with it. Pop Weed itself knew that. The stuff that came out before this, I never really loved that stuff. Some of it's pretty good. Most of it's meh. I didn't love it then, and I don't love it now. It's fun. That's when they were trying to solidify the whole Grebo sound, and that's what this is in a lot of ways. They were still doing the Grebo thing, but they definitely took a huge step up when it came to the production. On This Is the Day, This Is the Hour, This Is This, which is the name of this album. I'm going to refer to it as This Is the Day because it's a lengthy title. And this is the original US issue. It's got my old Tower sticker on it. You're going to see these once in a while. I bought this sucker at Tower. Still got the hype sticker on it. You want to see that? Let's see. I try to always keep my, you know, shrinks on my records when I can. If they're gatefold sleeves, I'll crack it open because I want to check out the inside. But if it's just like a single envelope sleeve, I'll always try to keep the shrink on there. Oh, Tower Records, how I miss you. I was talking to a few of you about Tower. God, those of you who are too young for Tower and you weren't there when it was happening, Tower was like the Walmart of records, only cool. You walked in there and everything was in there. Everything. Music, magazines, books, movies, and it was you could literally find anything you wanted. Every time I went in there, I would lose hours of my day. Ah, great times, man. Tower in the 80s. Those of you that, well, you guys probably weren't here then. I was going to say, those of my neighbors here in the Northwest, in the Portland area, were you here when Tower Records was at Eastport Plaza? You'll know what I'm saying when I say that. If you're actually from here, you will remember Tower Records on 82nd Avenue, Southeast Portland, Eastport Plaza. It was a giant store. God, it was cool. Beautiful place. Anyway, that's where I got this. Tower Records, Eastport Plaza. This is a great album, my favorite from them. They definitely stepped it up in a big way after Beaver Patrol and Box Frenzy and all that shit, that early stuff they did. This was a big shift in sound for them, mainly in technology. They definitely started getting their shit together as producers, and their music was taking a big step forward here. It still had some of that grittiness, that grime of the early albums, but then it was definitely well produced, very slick production. They took a big leap here. The album that came after this was just further into that technological realm. And Cure for Sanity is a great album, and I'm going to be doing the video for that right after this. So I hope you check both of these out. You'll have plenty of Pop Weed itself this weekend, is what I'm saying. Cure for Sanity was just a great add-on to this. But this is where Pop Weed itself, they had a couple of glory years, in my opinion. 1989 through 1991, really, were where this band was really shining. They never quite captured the magic that came from this album and the album that came after it, Cure for Sanity. But this is my favorite. Love this record. Really not a bad moment on here. I'll show the innards. Here's the inner sleeve. You do get the lyrics. This came out on RCA. Little PWEI logo there. You get the standard RCA labels. Kind of a cool color combination scheme there for the labels. I enjoyed this. It's a nice pressing. The album's not too long. It's probably 45 minutes. You get slightly over 20 minutes of music on each side. Unlike Cure for Sanity, which is a really long album, and they never did a double vinyl press of that. That's never been a great press. Depends on the one you get, but none of them are great. They should really reissue these. It seems like Pop Weed itself have a pretty decent fan base, right? Unless I'm mistaken. I think Clint Mansell's popularity only sends people this way. I'm sure people don't know what to think when they know they love Clint Mansell, and then they listen to this and you're like, what? That's Clint Mansell? We all thought the same thing when Clint Mansell started being the famous film score guy. But as I mentioned in my other Pop Will Eat Itself video, it's not all that surprising because when you hear this stuff, especially starting here, lots of film samples. A lot of this music is very filmic, very cinematic. It does not surprise you when you learn that Clint Mansell is like a famous composer and film score guy now. It fits. Musically, it's different, but you still hear those samples, the melodies. These guys were obsessed with film. They sampled a lot of music, but a lot of the music they did sample was from film scores. And most of the vocal samples are from movies. And it really started in earnest here. It definitely carried over into Cure for Sanity. And this was right on that precipice of when bands started getting sued. So that's why this record's really fun, is they are sampling their asses off here. This is a cool album. If you're into anything that's slightly left of center, right of center, completely off center, completely off of this is the jam. And Designers Republic did these covers. Designers Republic did all the Warp covers back in the 90s. They did Pop Weed itself as well. Super cool logos and imagery going on here. Their covers were always awesome. Always a feast for the eyeballs when Pop Weed itself released something. But as I mentioned in the last PWEI video, if you love Renegade Soundwave and AC/DC, just like Clint Mansell says, and Can You Dig It, you're going to love this stuff. It's both of those things and everything in between. It's guitar riffs and big beats. And this kind of shit didn't really go down back then. It did in some form, but not so much in pop form. And by the way, this name they got, I don't remember the name of the writer, but I do know that they took their name, Pop Will Eat Itself, from a live review they got from their previous band, which I can't remember the name of. One of you will know it and you'll blurt it out here. But they got this name from an NME reviewer. They were completely bashing the live show, and the writer said Pop Will Eat Itself to describe the show. So they took that and used it as their band name. Sense of humor, it's important. Pop Weed itself certainly had that. This is their best album. Boy, when I go through these tracks, I try to pick a favorite. There's really, in my opinion, there's not a bad cut on here. It really flows. It's not all mixed together, but some of the tracks are mixed together. It really does kind of have that feel of having one long, really cool track. It all flows together really nicely. Can You Dig It? It's a single. I know it's an obvious one, but a really great song. Can you dig it? They obviously took that sample from The Warriors. If you've never seen The Warriors, directed by the great Walter Hill, who's also directed movies like 48 Hours. If you don't know Walter Hill, Jesus Christ, what are you doing? But The Warriors, can you dig it? Go watch that movie if you've never seen it. I've never really been a huge fan of that movie, honestly, but I enjoy it. Walter Hill's definitely made much better movies. There's no question about that. Can You Dig It is a great song. The Fuses Have Been Lit is like this spooky kind of almost ambient track. Inject Me, a down tempo jam. Wise Up Sucker, that's one of their biggest songs. One of the singles from this album. And I have these singles. I'll talk about them. They're sitting right here next to me. DEFCON 1, another single. Poison to the Mind. My favorite song, Not Now, James, We're Busy. Listen here, cocksuckers, motherfuckers, pay respect to my building. It's JB property and it could be the one you get killed in. What a great song. One of their best. Maybe my favorite PWEI song. Not Now, James, We're Busy is about the time James Brown got arrested. He went on a high-speed chase and the cops were chasing him and he got thrown in the clink. That's what this song's about. It's really funny too. Like it's a very competently produced and powerful song in its own right, but then it's got these samples of James Brown in the background going, come on, when do I get up and do my thing? It's really funny. Not now, James, we're busy. Maybe my favorite PWEI song. Every time I hear that song, it's like, yes, here we go. Beautiful. One of their best. And the last song, Wake Up, Time to Die, well, Blade Runner. Those of you who know Blade Runner, you know that line, wake up, time to die. So that film connection to Clint Mansell, it's really not all that surprising if you are an intent listener. If you listen to the details, it really wasn't that big of a shock when Clint Mansell did what he did. I think he was always gearing up to do something like that. He loves movies. And it's here. You hear it. You want to hear Clint Mansell roots? This is the day right here. Let's get into some of the singles. DEFCON 1. This preceded the album. This was what they did post, Box Frenzy. Get a good shot of that. Love that cover. I mean, look at that. Really love these guys' cover and the artwork, the covers these guys had done. Awesome stuff. This is why I enjoy buying records. Stuff like this. It's an experience. The music in itself is awesome, of course, but then you've got this. It really puts you in a frame of mind. You get to put your hands on it. It's tangible. It's fun. Like I've said before, it's my fun. It's not everybody else's fun, but it's some of our fun, right? You record collectors know what I mean. When you throw this down on the turntable, you like to have this in your hand. You like to enjoy this and appreciate it. Someone went to the trouble of making a very nice cover. And when they actually put a lot of thought into it and listen to the music and try to create artwork that reflects the music being played on the record, it makes the whole experience that much better. And so Pop Will Eat Itself is definitely a band that I love buying their records from because look at this. Covers are killer. This was released post Box Frenzy, pre This Is the Day, This Is the Hour, This Is This. This came out, I believe, in 1988. Yes, the record, the album This Is the Day came out in 89. This came out in 88. So they're gearing up. Their sound is changing a little bit. You hear it happening here. In a lot of ways, this was like the beginning of that next phase of Pop Will Eat Itself, is right here. We like the music. We like that disco sound. Hey. And this is disco with riffs. I mean, They don't hide it. There's a mix on here called the Riffs mix. And Flood got involved. Very important. Flood. You know Flood. I'm not even going to tell you who Flood is. If you don't know who Flood is and you're watching my channel, you're clearly not watching my videos thoroughly. I've talked about Flood many times before, who he is, who he's worked with, the genius that he is. I'm not getting into who Flood is. You go find that out for yourselves. But he's on here. He does remixing. He's on the album. He produced their next couple of albums. He was all over Pop-Weed itself at this time. And he was all over some of the best music out there at this time, late 80s, early 90s, all throughout the 90s. Flood was a monster. One of the greatest producers we've ever seen. And this is the UK version of Can You Dig It? I think Flood, did he do this remix? Let's see, this is just the 12-inch version. The fuses have been lit, instrumental, radio, PWEI, a cappella, poison to the mind. Maybe the Riffs mix is on another version. I don't remember. There's a mix called the Riffs mix. But this was the next single from This Is the Day, This Is the Hour, This Is This. And it will take me 40 minutes to get this back in its sleeve, but hey, it is what it is. Can you dig it? Can you dig it? This is the US version. The Justin Strauss remixes, again. You're not watching my videos if you don't know who Justin Strauss is. I'm not explaining who he is again. This is for the US market. Justin Strauss, the king of the US market remixer at the time. And these are great mixes, better than the ones you get on the UK version. And how many times do you see a sleeve like this? It's pretty cool, right? Wise Up Sucker. This was the next single. I think both of these singles came out prior to the album. There's a lot of hype and promotion going on here, but look at that cover. Come on. How fun is that? Damn. Love these covers. Very strong logo right here. Very strong product we've got going. Can you dig it again? And maybe this is where, I think this is where the Riffs mix is. Yeah, here it is. Yep. Let me show the label. I have Inject Me in my mind from the album. Inject me. Inject me. Boring labels, but track listing is Wise Up Sucker 7-inch version. Ox. All right, it's too dark in here. Orgy 1 stimulator? How do you say that? Orgy 1? I don't know. Orgy 1 stimulator. Can You Dig It Riffs mix? That's the cut that I used to play a lot. And then the 12-inch version. Those are the songs I'd play in the clubs. The Orgy song, I don't even really remember that one. I need to revisit that one. Yeah, that's exciting. See, this is why having a lot of records is good. You don't always have the time to listen to everything. Here's the other version of Wise Up Sucker, 10-inch. Track listing, I think there's a youth version on here. 10-inch version, 12. I think these are done by Youth. Flood, Youth, yes. You Killing Joke fans, you know who Youth is. I think, is there anybody on this planet who does not know Youth? Martin Glover? Come on. If you're watching my channel, you've got to know who Youth is. He does the remixes here. Flood does the production. And it's a gatefold 10-inch. Kind of cool. Get some different mixes here. Good stuff. But it all comes back to this. My favorite Pop-Weed Itself album. Cure for Sanity is a very close second. I think both of those albums have some amazing moments on them, but I think Cure for Sanity has a little bit more fluff than this does. This is a more precise experience. There's no fluff here. There's no fat. It's all trimmed off. This is a very streamlined experience and a great time in PWEI's history right here. Look no further. Their best album. Check it out if you've never listened to it. I think if you tend to like my videos and the music I talk about and you've never heard this, I think you'll enjoy it. Thanks. Bye.